Hi guys and welcome, Gnembon here, and welcome to 14th episode of Fun Farms. Today, just let me tell you the story. So, I was preparing my carpet mod 1.12 video and I thought, okay, let's showcase some farm designs that can utilize its features. And then I thought obviously to use this garden farm, and the reason is quite simple, because to properly evaluate this farm, it would actually use tons of the carpet mod features. Essentially we will have here a simplified hopper collection, just using hopper counters, so you can very easily count the drops that are falling onto those hoppers. To track a number of guardians that spawn, you can use spawn tracking. Then to observe how they spawn, we can just spawn a fake player down there and be able to go in the game mode 3 and just see how they are flowing. Obviously, to clear out this parameter, you will need both fill updates and fill limit commands, so it all would work perfectly. However, so what I did is just came over here and ran it in 1.12, and I was like, this is not the typical flow of guardians that I would expect from this farm. So I did the usual. I do the spawn tracking start, I reset the counters, I spawn the player, and as you can see, the guardians are not behaving the same way, and if we get the results of our experiment, so you can see the spawn rates are not great. It's, first of all, we have only 19,000 about guardians that spawn in the upper tanks, and then at the bottom we can see the results from prismarine shards, which in a sense represent how many fishes drop to the bottom, because one fish drop on average one shard. So not only we have much smaller rates, we would expect about 25,000 guardians per hour, and this would give us, if we would manually kill them at the bottom, 180,000 XP per hour. But with 19,000 up top, we have almost 5,000 lost in the process, so 25% loss. And then among those, you wouldn't even be getting 140,000 XP per hour, it would be 80-90,000. So does it mean that this farm is completely broken? In this stage, pretty much yes. You'll be getting essentially half of what you would expect from it. But thankfully there is a fix for that problem, but it will involve tons of redstone. So let me hop onto the test world that we have developed last time, and let's fix it. So we are here on the test world, and I set up a fake player over there at the bottom, so we can observe essentially what fishes are doing and what happens to them. And we can see that guardians are not flowing down as easily as they did in the past. I mean, it is normal for them to wander from place to place, but not at this scale. You can see that previously we got about 5% loss, and in this case you can see that a lot of guardians, when they touch lava, they try to hop and try to swim back to the water. So this is not a new concept. I mean, this has been here in the game for a very long time. When a guardian gets damaged from whatever reason, it will essentially trigger their wandering right away without any waiting. So we can see here on examples, we have a bunch of guardians, and if I splash them with damage potions, you can see they just run away. They not run away, they essentially try to wander into a random location. So that's what's happening in that farm. It's just before, they couldn't pass through the air block that was between them and lava, so it wasn't essentially triggering their behavior. I guess in 1.12 what changed is the properties of the air blocks in terms of the pathfinding. So they can actually pathfind through those locations, and you can actually see that some of those guys get lucky and they really get back to the water. So I wouldn't call it a bug that's new, it's just they fixed the old wrong behavior. So previously we had these two layers of lava divided by one layer of air blocks, and the cool thing about it was in a very compact space we could bring literally all of them to one hit kill, or essentially to one heart of health, and that was perfect. Now it doesn't work anymore. We have to increase the fall from the original water sources on the spawning layers so that they are far enough from water so they don't pathfind towards it. And one way of doing it here is we can use 3 layers of air blocks and 4 layers of lava, and this brings them not to one hit kill but to 5-6 points of health, and this is sufficient in terms of killing them with a sword. This might not be sufficient to killing them with potions, and actually you can still do it, you can still bring them to 1 point of health, but the setup would be much bigger. Like in this case is 3 blocks of space, then 3 blocks of lava, then 4 blocks of air blocks, and so like you can still do it for the potion setup. The good thing about sweeping is that you don't need to worry about how much health they have as long as you can kill them. If I for example spawn here a bunch of fresh guardians and just smack them with sharpness 5 and looting 3 sword, we can see that one of them lost 10 hearts of damage and the other ones lost 8.5, so bringing them to 5 and 6, that's perfectly fine, but only for a sword type farm. So if you go to the original farm, you can also notice that there is a drop after lava into water, and then below the water I put ice. And as you guys noticed, the ice is not necessary. It was just a reminiscence of the previous idea that if you're on the drop only mode, if you remove all the water from the entire farm, it actually works much better, because guardians can, after dropping from lava, they will essentially have 1 health and they'll essentially die immediately from the fall damage. So that will speed up significantly that farm. But if you only care about XP, or you want to have decent amount of drops but not super crazy, the sledge can be as high as we want, because guardians won't track back to lava. So the good thing about it is that the new design of the lava killing method doesn't involve too much of redesigning of the entire shell of the farm. Still, there is another problem, and this is actually quite clear to observe if we have the players over there. The guardians, when they are next to the blocks, they would fall quicker. That's why we have all the roads here, and that's why the farm itself is so thin in profile. And as you can see, it doesn't work anymore like that. They are really slow. So we have here a little explanation and test zone to actually observe what's happening. So we have here a tank with a column of water, and the column in the middle of it, that doesn't touch any walls, so it's like a control. And then on the right hand side we have glass, and on the left hand side we have regular blocks. Typically what would happen before is they would fall quicker on the sides, but we can see where the glass is, they don't fall quicker anymore. And again, this is not a feature with guardians, this is actually a change that's global, that affects all the entities that are passing through water. And this is connected with a change to some fundamental behavior of blocks, introduced with the change how different blocks, for example, connect to fences. So we are here in 1.11.2, and here we have a little water elevator, and we can hop in, and we can see that the first section, when we are next to solid blocks, is very slow, because the water enforces a downward draft on us. If we move up a section, we have glass, it's still slow. However, when you get to the ice section, ice is actually interpreted like water, we can get now really fast. And our way down is opposite, now we are behaving like guardians falling down. So the ice section is slower, but as long as we get into the glass section, then it's now fast again. So now in 1.12, if we go into the same elevator, it's different, because the first section is slower, the solid blocks, but then, and as long as we get into the glass, boom, it's way faster. So this change affects all the entities and how they flow down in water. So to fix it, unfortunately, we have to use solid blocks. The problem is with solid blocks are known for blocking spawning spaces. So if we would replace all the walls and all the rods inside of the farm with solid blocks, then we would also inhibit some of the spawn attempts that are happening exactly near the farm. But that's not necessarily true. The truth is, yes, the solid blocks are now required for the mobs to actually drown faster, but what blocks the spawn attempts are blocks what's called normal cubes. And there is one block in the game that is a solid block, so would provide us with a downwards draft, but it's not a normal cube, and this is a redstone block. It does mean that we would have to replace all the rods and all the walls of the design with redstone blocks, which might be quite expensive, but it will provide us with the performance we want. And this is not the farm in terms of the building it, that's an early game, so you should have all the redstone blocks to do it. So as I said, the fix involves lots of redstone, but this is not the type of redstone that you would probably think about. So this is the fixed farm. As you can see, it looks pretty much the same as before, but instead I use redstone for all the building blocks above where the tank is and where the spawning area is. It's not that good looking if you don't like redstone or if you don't like solid blocks. I think the glass ones looked much prettier and could blend up better with existing builds, especially the ocean monument. So what I did, I left a 3 gap of space between the tank and the lava blade, and then the lava blade is 4 blocks deep, giving fishes enough momentum to actually be able to get through it. Then I put the collection streams at the bottom, just 1 block below, because we don't need that much drop. And then we have our hoppers at the bottom and the collection. And as you can see from the experiment, the rates are back again to the normal rates. So if they run the farm for a very long time on drops mode, we have over 26,000 guardians spawned and over 25,000 drops per hour in terms of the prismarine shards. So we have again about 4% loss on the lava, which is to be expected, thankfully. And in total, this farm produces 45,000 drops per hour. This is actually a little bit better than the previous design, and the reason is very simple. Guardians spend actually half a second less in lava, which essentially allows us to clear out the mob cap quicker. At the bottom we have 2 options in terms of that ledge that brings guardians just to us so we can kill them with our sword. We can either put it at the bottom, so then when we turn off the water in a drop mode, all the guardians will be dropping immediately on top and dying. Or we can leave it up top with water pouring all the time and only collect guardians in our 2x4 area. Obviously that other option is slower in terms of the drops because guardians have a little bit more to go to be dropped to death. However, the benefit is that this ledge is now in the middle of the area that is mandatorily filled up with solid blocks, so we have less wandering. And wandering is something that may kill the raids of this farm. So with this option with the ledge higher up, it's actually a little bit faster when we just care about the XP mode. Again, one word of caution. So I've received some questions like my farm doesn't perform that well. First of all, as an overworld farm, it needs not only the perimeter to be cleared so no other mobs spawning around us, but also if you are playing with other people on the server, if they take the mob cap, we won't be able to spawn any mobs because they take all the mobs. So that's something you have to take care to make sure that this tank is the only space that all the mobs can spawn in your world. And if you are sharing yourself with other people, yes, you'll have lower rates, but hopefully still much better than any other XP farm. And second thing, I noticed that some people build that farm without noticing that this area around the farm is marked by this bigger cross. It's actually part of the farm and goes quite deep. So in this case, it's only like 2 blocks below what our AFK area is. And this entire solid section is actually 7 blocks up and 7 blocks down from any point we don't want guardians to wander. So move randomly. So I set up a little experiment to compare rates and to see what happens if you, for example, build this farm in the middle of the void. So we have here cleared out the entire area, and first of all we have not only with the wandering issues but also the spawning issues. So all the area around the farm, because we don't have any solid blocks within the third subchunk, you can see here on these lines, these spots don't spawn any mobs because spawning is concentrated along the lower subchunk. So first of all, we don't have any spawns that will creep into our farm, and second of all, if you look here, when guardians are dropping onto those water streams, they just do whatever they want, because they see so many spots that they can wander to. So if you run the experiment in terms of the rates wise, we can see that we have again about 5% loss, but the rates are crazy low. It's like 16,000 guardians per hour drop, and at the bottom we only have about 15,500 of them, looking at Prisma and Shroud rates. So this is a very bad idea to build it up in the open because of the spawning issues and because of the wandering issues. And also we can see that, for example, here, because we don't have enough spawns, the mob cups are pretty much empty because this is not enough spawning spaces. So our farm is not in the optimal settings. It may still be bigger because we are lacking these spawns from the outside. We can test, for example, what would happen if we have some blocks around us to actually allow that pack spawning to happen, but still didn't prevent the wandering to happen. And this is setting where we created those extra blocks here just to increase the spawning into our farm area, so into our third subchunk. So we should have all the spawning we want, and those are the result. We have more guardians spawning, but still far from the 26,000 we had at the beginning. So we have 20.7. At the bottom, in terms of the Prism shots, we have barely 19,000. So this farm also will not provide you 180,000 XP per hour, although you can see the mob caps are 23% full, so we are actually getting into the mob cap area. So this is essentially a proper size farm. It's just we are not controlling this wandering and allowing those fishes to go back and forth. This very significantly drops the rates below the required ones. So guys, that was it in terms of the update for 1.12. I really didn't expect this farm to break. It has no moving parts, it has nothing that's weird or whatever, but it changed, so the farm needs to be redesigned. That's no problem. Also received a bunch of questions, can I make a block by block tutorial for this farm? Really? First of all, there's a world download, and there's a world download with this case as well. Second of all, if you look at it, it's just a cross shape with this pattern. You can just take a screenshot if you want. It starts at Y46, which is very important. It goes down 1 block below the ocean monument area. And then we have 3 blocks of space, 4 blocks of lava, and then water streams to the middle. There is pretty much to it. And we have 4.6 drop shaft with a water stream in the middle just to collect the guardians into a 2x4 area. And that's it. And as long as we are 24 blocks or further from the water, it's actually really easy to calculate, then we should be pretty good. So I hope you guys liked it. I hope you don't mind the update. It helps a lot. Those farms were pretty broken in 1.12, and thankfully we are able to catch it and fix it. So see you in the next one. Bye bye.